Hello, welcome to the Potential State. My name is Dr. Assael Romanelli, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about one-dimensional communication. In today's world where we're all multifaceted and complex and politically correct and not offensive, and everything is just relative because there's so many options, we have become slowly a society where communication is always quantified, it's complicated, it's not a simple event. Everything has multiple philosophical understandings and underpinnings and can be seen in a myriad of different ways. And what I'm noticing a lot in the different fields I work in, therapy, theater, art, education, is that this multifaceted, complicated, complex communication actually hurts relationships. And I'm going to be explaining why. I'm going to start with the assumption that we're all scared of being hurt. We all want to protect ourselves. And we do this in a myriad of different ways, but the ways that we usually do this is we kind of blur our communication. We say things that are kind of PG-13 that everyone will accept. Or if we've done some therapy, we've been socialized to say, I have this sense that I might not feel this comfortable in this setting, and this group is kind of making me also feel a little bit of, some people can say, and I've Tefloned it so much, I've framed it so much in the sense that I'm not saying anything at the end. What's happening in the end, we're kind of having these sterile conversations that have no impact, that are not penetrating others because we are so careful. And so the way we protect ourselves, we use cynicism, we smokescreen, I don't know, maybe it's complicated, let me defer it later, I'll get back to you. There's so many levels to this question, and we're basically postponing it for Neverland. And it reminds me when I was working in London, in the Jewish community, people would come up to me in synagogue after synagogue and say, oh, you should come over sometime. And I knew that the second they said sometime, that actually means never. Because they would never invite me. But they would throw in that sometime, and that kind of like it's a code word. Oh, you should come over sometime, aka never. And I remember meeting one family, the Levi family, and they actually came up to me the first time I met them and said, you should come over now. And I remember being so shocked. I was like, wow. And I did. And they became my adopting family in London because they were the only ones who didn't say sometime. So what happens when we blur, when we smoke screen our communication, when we keep it very vague, multifaceted? You can't catch me in any single position. And I'm talking not a philosophical or political debate, I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about people that you care about, your colleagues, friends, your partners, your loved one, your kids, your extended family. So what happens is when I'm not really saying what I'm feeling, when I'm being kind of vague, I'm encouraging you guys to mind read me, to interpret what I'm saying. So you guys, if I'm not saying anything in my text, you're going to be exploring my nonverbals. Okay, what is he thinking? Does he feel not safe in this group? Or was he actually saying that he wants to be more of himself? It's not really clear. So, and what happens when people are mind reading, they'll go to their preferred interpretation. Now, here's the kicker. Sometimes people will interpret me on the positive light. Oh, he's really being honest. But what happens in a lot of tense relationships, what happens is the automatic interpretation is negative. And that's what Gottmans call negative sentiment override, which basically means everything my partner, my son, my parent, my colleague, my boss says, I'm going to interpret it negatively. Like that joke, how do you know a lawyer is lying? They open their mouth. Okay, so that's a negative sentiment override. Every single lawyer who is talking is lying. So imagine you're in a tense relationship and your partner is vague and you're angry at him because of yesterday or whatever. So anything he's saying, right, is being interpreted in a negative light, especially if it's vague. How do I look today? Oh, it's very interesting. Very interesting. What does that mean? Did you enjoy our date last night? It was really interesting. Like there were a lot of different moments there, a lot of different moments. So I don't know what that says, so I'm going to just interpret it negatively. Now, what's interesting about this technique that most of us do is a way to buffer intimacy. So I'm not too blunt, because if it'd be really clear, I might insult you, or I might seem pathetic because I'm doing emotional bid, referred to the emotional bid video a few weeks ago. But on the other hand, I'm not, pushing you away too much. So we're not going to be too close. I'm not going to confess. I'm not going to be too vulnerable, but I'm not going to be pushing you away. I'm going to say something safe in the middle. And that way we can maintain this kind of equilibrium, the distance between us, like we're not too hot, not too cold, which on one hand is safe, but on the other hand is boring. And these safe distances that keep us safe and keep our relationships safe from intimacy and safe from breaking up over time become tedious, boring, high maintenance, and all these things are not gearing toward growth. So if we think about it, I'm going to go back to this metaphor of crucibles. Relationship is crucibles. This comes from the work of David Schnarch, which we will talk about throughout the series. Relationships are hot places, intimate relationships, professional, personal, are hot places where I need to take a chance to be myself. Can I dare to be myself more and more in these relationships? So only when I'm clear, when I'm saying a clear statement, a one-dimensional clear statement, I like this, I don't like when you touch me there. I do like this movie. I prefer not to go out tonight. I'm actually not so interested in being close now. The truth is, I don't really want to do this project with you. But I'm willing to do it because we have to. Okay? Some of these are very nice, and some of I can also be like, the truth is, I'd rather spend time with you right now than with someone else or with my kids. Like, to think about the courage it takes to say that to someone, to say that to your partner. The truth is, I don't want more family time. I want time with you. Or the opposite. I want less time with you right now. I'm feeling a little bit angry or hurt from you. I'd actually rather spend time with the kids right now. So when I am being clear for in whatever direction that is, two things are happening. First of all, I'm hearing myself. I'm hearing myself speak my truth, and that gives me a sense of solidness. We spoke last time about a self-validated intimacy, which is connected to self-exposure. So when I am saying my truth, when my heart and my mouth are the same, as we say in Hebrew, then I'm actually gaining authenticity in my own mind. I'm becoming more congruent because I'm hearing my unconscious mind is hearing myself speak out loud what I am thinking, and I'm solidifying my sense of self. I feel more and more confident to bring my truth. Because here I am, I just said it. I just told my partner I'd rather spend time with the kids than with her, or the opposite. Or I told my colleague that the truth is, I don't want to work today overtime with you. I'm still feeling hurt from yesterday, or I'm really upset you didn't give me credit for that project last week. So there's a part of me that's hearing myself say it, and I'm gaining confidence, I'm gaining congruency, I'm gaining a solid sense of self. And there's another benefit, which is my partner has a clear perception, partner or the other, whatever, the colleague, the child. He or she knows where I stand. And that clarity helps him or her solidify where they're standing. Because if I'm smoke screening it and saying, well, let's say we have to do this project, and I'm like, well, I don't know, there's so many things we could be doing right now, instead of just saying, I don't want to do this project with you right now. So he or she is going into mind reading. He or she doesn't really know where I stand. So he or she's also throwing some smoke screens. Well, what do you think? There's all kinds of things. And we're basically playing this mind game, this useless mind game that just takes up time and energy. And actually, I'm preventing my partner from solidifying. And if you think about kids, right? If they grew up in a smoke screen, cynical, it's not clear. What is cynicism? Cynicism is a smoke screen. Do you like this shirt? I love this shirt. So do you love the shirt or you don't? I'm so happy right now. So a lot of times when I confront adults about that, or parents, they'll say, well, I'm just joking. But kids don't understand that. Are you happy right now or aren't you happy? Okay, cynicism is the ultimate smoke screen in my sense, in my experience. So if you want to help kids kind of realize what they're thinking about things, be clear. I'm happy to be here. I'm not happy to be here. I don't like hiking. I do like hiking. What do you want? What do you feel? So if we can do this with kids, we can also do this with obviously partners and colleagues. So the two things I get when I'm clear is I solidify myself and I hear myself speaking my truth. That gives me energy and vitality and confidence. And I'm helping the people around me clarify who they are. And they become more solid. And then this interaction becomes deeper, more congruent, more differentiated. And we'll talk about differentiation at a different time. That's why in my work, also as a therapist and also as a facilitator, or as a performer, I always try to be more blunt and one-dimensional than my clients or the other people. Now, a lot of times, especially in North America, it's considered not PC, right? Considered rude. But the thing is I'm not doing it to purposely shit stir. I'm not trying to like upset people. What I'm trying to do is get some clarity. So what I will do is I will scaffold. Scaffold in psychotherapy means I'm going to give a few options. So when you say you're really happy right now, are you saying to me you're happy, or you're afraid to saying you're happy, or you're not happy? Or a different example when I work with teenagers. So they'll always say, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And that's kind of, I call that like the dog biscuits they throw to us. And hopefully that gets the adults off their back. So when I work with a teenager and he says, I don't know, I say, which kind of I don't know? Is it the I don't know, I really don't know? Is it I don't know, I know, but get off my case? Is it I don't know, but I'm angry right now, so I'm just going to shove it to you and I'm not going to answer anything because I'm the strong one here? Just tell me which option, 1, 2, or 3. And the second I scaffold them, I'm kind of breaking down that smoke screen to actually a very clear statement. Or another example is numbers. And I'm going to give now a few examples just so you see how I work with this. Also my personal life and also my professional life. So I'm giving an example from the clinic. As you can see, I have a whiteboard here, and I use this in every single session almost. And a lot of times I use this whiteboard to raise the stakes, as we say in theater improvisation. Raise the stakes meaning raising the tension, raising the temperature of the scene. But in this case, it's to kind of demystify the communication. So a while back I was working with a couple, and the sense was that she was not into her husband anymore after 10 years together. But she kept saying, I'm not really sure. I mean, there's a part of me that feels that I love him, and there's a part of me that doesn't. And after a few sessions, I said, you know what, let's just write it on the board. Out of 100%, how much percent are you passionate toward him, and how much percent are you not? Very simple question. And she was like, I don't know, it's hard to quantify. I said, let's just try it for now. And a lot of times what I'll say is, your answer is right, is for now. You're not committing forever, but for now, say a clear statement. And then she says, I'm 80% not into my husband and 20% into him. Now that was a very dramatic moment. Now that sounds completely different than the way she was smoke screening it before. Now obviously we know why she was afraid of saying that, right? But at the end of the day, and what was interesting, she says that, and what does he say? I don't believe it. I don't believe her. She doesn't really know what she's saying, right? He was refusing to see that. So what's interesting, why is he refusing to see that? Because for such a long time, she was smoke screening it. It was blur, it was vague, it was multidimensional. So he mind read what he wanted. So in this case, she loves me, she wants me, okay? And once she did that, there was like this, he immediately said, I don't believe it, but for her, there was this clarity. It was the beginning of a process that she slowly allowed herself to say the thing, to connect to her truth. And once those numbers were up there, for all three of us, he was a little bit in denial, but later he realized these numbers and the meanings of these numbers, and it became more and more clear. And that kind of changed the dynamic in that relationship. Now I'm going to give you another example from my own marriage. In the first few years, there were a lot of miscommunications between me and Galit, my wife, of how important are things for us, like to watch this movie, to go to this family event, to come see this or her presentation or my presentation or my performance or her meeting or seeing the kids' event or something like that. And that was vague because I said it's important to me, but how important is it? And it took us about a year, more or less, to find the A and G scale, the Assael and Galit scale, and it's from 1 to 9. And what we said is up to 5 means it's important to me. I mean, I'd like you to come, but no rush. 6 to 7 is kind of, yes, I really want you to come, and I think it's like I want to hear a good reason why not. And 8 or 9 means you better have a very good reason why not to come. And this 1 to 9 scale really changed kind of our dynamic, because now if there's an event that's 9, Galit knows that she really needs to explain if she's not going to come. Like this is kind of really, really important. If I say something that's 4, then she knows, okay, so I'd like her to come, but it's not crucial. It's not a command performance. Also, in one of the Gottman emails, I saw a woman, sex therapist, who spoke about partners quantifying how much they want sex. So from 1 to 9. So no becomes, under 4 means no chance. 4 to 5 means I can be persuaded, right? And 5 and above is I want. So once again, there's another attempt here to demystify and to clarify communication. Not only It's not only to minimize misunderstandings, which is also a benefit, but for me, I want to see it more as a way for personal growth, for solidifying, for hearing myself saying it's a 4. I don't want sex at number 3, or I do want to go to this event. This is important to me, 8. And I make a clear statement, and I hear my voice, and I hear my clarity, and that gives me a sense of agency. And my partner, or my student, or my colleague, or my son, or my boss, they can know where I stand, and then they can make a decision. They can solidify their own process. And imagine each one being solid and solid and solid, and the communication becomes clear and clear. Now, here's the moment where you're probably wondering, well, that can bring a lot of conflict, especially when what I'm not saying is negative. Like, you should come over sometime actually means we don't want you to come over for whatever reason, or we don't want to invite you, but this is kind of what the politeness thing says. So I'm not saying you have to keep it real with every single person you meet, but I think in the relationships that matter, you need to realize that yes, some moments will be awkward. To tell someone, I don't want to do this project with you now, or to tell your partner, right now, I'm a little bit distant, so I don't want to spend more time with you, that requires courage, and that will probably cause a rupture, as we said last time. So this rupture, which is kind of this this dissonant moment between us, if we dare to repair it, #dare to repair, so that will actually deepen our relationship. So if we're thinking about, I'm going to speaking about meaningful endurance, if we realize that authentic relationships require work and have to go through a crucible, have to go through ruptures, then I'll realize I'm willing to take that risk and saying the thing, being very, very clear. And there might be a rupture, but I think at the end of the day, people appreciate honest communication. People appreciate people telling them the truth. And I'm thinking about a while back, I was in a workshop, and one of the participants came up to me, and she was very powerful, but she had this facade of being a little bit, silly, like the Joker. And I said to her, I am just feeling that you were smokescreening this with laughter. Why are you laughing after every sentence you say? And that became a rupture, but because she saw my heart was in the right place, I wasn't there to humiliate her, I was there to deepen the interaction. So we managed to repair that rupture and go deeper. And from now on, a lot of times I'll do this in therapy. And I just yesterday, I saw a couple, and I said to them, if it's okay, I'm going to stop smiling every time you smile. Because I feel that when I smile together with you, the social convention, right? I'm making everything here light and fluffy. And not everything is light and fluffy. Okay? So a lot of times the way that people smokescreen something they've really, really said, that's really, really painful. And also as an actor, I do playback theater, right? So I conduct stories. So people tell a real life story, and then my actors and me, we play it back, hence the word playback. And a lot of times people come up and say, I have a really funny story, and then they start telling the story, and it's really not funny. It's actually very sad or very painful. Or very negative or very scary, but since it's easier for them to package it as a funny story, they tell it like that with a lot of laughter. So it took me a while to train myself and then to train my actors when we hear something to keep it at a straight face. So if she says this is a funny story, he says, and I don't find it funny, I don't have to smile together with her and then limit myself, because the second I smile, it'll be hard for me to later come back and go in a very serious monologue. So it's holding on to myself and allowing myself to be honest of where this situation is. And a lot of times what I'll do is they'll tell this is a funny story, but I'll take a second, I'll say, for me, this story really kind of resonated as a very sad story. I'm not asking her to validate that or agree with that, I'm just saying it. And every time I say that, I'm liberating myself and my actors to go where they feel the story went. To be one-dimensional, simple. Yes or no? Was it happy or sad? Do you like this or don't you like this? There's a question here. Is there any situation one should not be authentic and tell the truth? Yeah. Bus driver, service providers, interactions where you don't want to go deeper, interactions when you just want to keep everything civilized. I think, the joke would be with your mother-in-law, but I think at the end of the day, if you think about mother-in-laws, which maybe we should do a talk about that one day, the price you pay for being polite and insincere in that sense and not be authentic. So you're keeping the peace, right? But at the end of the day, there's no growth in that interaction. So she becomes this constant. I think that's why there's so many jokes about mothers-in-laws, because no one's doing work in that dynamic, in that relationship, in that sphere. It just keeps things static. I'll be a little bit jokey jokes. She'll be a little bit sarcastic, maybe passive aggressive, maybe jab me, or vice versa. Or I'll talk about her in negative ways, but kind of blur it up. Okay? So no one's being offended. Once again, we're buffering the intimacy. It's not too close, but there's no real fight. Or she can mask her criticism of her son-in-law or daughter-in-law by saying a little sweet jab, like, really? Did you cook that? Or, wow, that's really salty. I guess you guys like salty. Or wow, you guys are very strict with the kids. Like, what are you saying here? So I think in those relationships where you consciously don't want to go deeper and you're not looking for ruptures and repairs, because at the end of the day, you're not invested in that. And let's be realistic. I can't be invested in all single other relationships. I can't have an I-thou, a Buberian I-thou with every single interaction. So the ones that I'm conscious about, the ones I care about, the ones I want to grow or deepen or evolve, or the ones that I feel are limiting me the most, those are the ones where I should go for this. The ones that either require too much energy and it's not a priority, the ones that I'm never going to see again, the ones that I don't feel any impulse to get closer to, then no need to do that. I mean, it's still a good habit, but I think there's a difference between saying the thing that's very deep and meaningful and just being clear. Like there's a dinner party and somebody says, oh, you got, like a couple you don't know, and they say, oh, you should come over sometime. So if you want, you can say okay, or you can say probably not, but that's great. Thank you for the invitation. Right. So the second one will give you a little bit of a rupture, but I think at the end of the day, I think this accumulates to a clear sense of self. I want to give one example of my teacher, then a few practical tips. Amitai Meged, who's a teacher in Israel about differentiation-based psychotherapy. He's my supervisor, my teacher, my mentor, my friend, and he was doing a workshop and he was rocking it. And I had so many questions. So I come up to him in the break, and, I'm ready to ask him a lot of questions, and I'm like, listen, Amitai, I have like 4 questions. Then he stops me and says, Assael, I can't listen to you right now. I need a break. Thank you. He didn't even ask me. He just said it. And now he said it so clearly that I was just shocked. I mean, I was kind of insulted in the beginning, but then I was like, yes, wow, he was so clear. And the fact that I knew that he's saying it not to humiliate me, but because he was very connected to himself. That was an example of a solid sense of self. And one last example, which I think is really strong for me at least, when I finished my doctorate, I came to the dean of the School of Social Work. And I said to her, I'm ready. I'm ready to go to a postdoctorate. Send me wherever you want. I'm happy to teach here. I'm ready to be, to enter the School of Social Work. And she says, without blinking an eye, she says, I think you're not made from academic material. I think you need to go back to the field. And she just kept going on. And she said, and if I would take you to teach, it would be pro bono, because I already have too much staff and I don't have enough budget, so I would ask a paid person to teach you a course that you've developed. And she was so blunt and unapologetic, and I was kind of surprised and almost insulted, but then I was like, yeah. And looking back, it's been almost a year since, and I'm like, she was so right. And I thank her for being so clear. And the truth is when the ceremony and I had to see her again, the truth is I had a lot of respect for her. In fact, she gained my respect by being so clear. She was one-dimensional. She was simple. She didn't smokescreen it. She didn't joke about it. She looked me in the eye and said, "You need to go back to the field, and I will not pay for your teaching. Maybe in a different course, but not now and not like this. Don't even try for a postdoctorate." Wow. Think of the courage she needed to do that. Think what a gift she gave herself, but she actually gave me a gift. Now, there was a rupture, but because I felt that she cared about me, that she really saw me, she said because she kind of knew me, that repaired itself. And in my book, in my mental book, she is remembered fondly as somebody who was very clear. So now I want to give 2 or 3 practical tips how to be more clear so you can grow and be more solid and that your relationships in your life can be more solid. Number 1, try to avoid the classical smoke screens. Cynicism, I don't knows, it's complicated, let me get back to you, change topics, laugh, whatever. All those, or what did you say? Which is a classic stalling move as well. try to call yourself on it. Now, if you're surprised by the question, so try to call yourself on and say, whoa, I'm smoke screening, 1 second, I wasn't expecting you to ask me this question. Or I'm a bit embarrassed by the bluntness, by the directness you said that. So stop that, call yourself on it. And if you need a few more moments to compose yourself, you say, wait, I want to give me a few seconds. I want to kind of think what I want to say to you. Okay? And also, you can also say, well, the truth is for now, A, B, or C. Like, I think the thing of things are for now. For now, this is where I stand. Like, a lot of people are afraid to say something clear because it's going to be used against them later, or it's going to be forever held against them. So if you can just say, for now, this is where I'm standing this evening, or for right now, that's where I stand, that's where I feel. So you'll be saying something clear, but you'll be quantifying it for now. Second tip, use numbers. How much do you want to go out? How much is this important to you? What's a priority? Prioritize for me. Give me the top 3 topics we should be talking about. Okay, what are the 3 most things important for you right now in this project, in interaction that we managed to do today? How important is it for you on Sunday to go to the zoo from 1 to 10? Well, for me, it's 4 to 10. For you, it's 8 to 10. Okay, so now we know where we stand. Now we can have a negotiation. And I think the third tip, which is kind of more of a deeper, long-term tip, is be ready and don't be afraid of ruptures. Be ready to see your relationships change and interactions being a bit more energetic, also maybe a little bit scary. But be ready for an increase in ruptures in these interactions, because you will be saying clearer and clearer things. You'll be clarifying your emotional bids. You'll be doing self-exposed statements that are increasing your solid sense of self and your self-validated intimacy. Because at the end of the day, if you believe that you can repair, if you dare to repair these ruptures, what you're going to create is not only a personal growth where you will feel more congruent, more honest, more authentic in your professional, personal life, but you'll be leveraging relationships, personal and professional, that will not only help the people around you grow and be clear, but your interactions will be more real, more deep, more authentic. So I'm Dr. Assael Romanelli, and this is The Potential State. See you next time.